Facebook? What up, Facebook? We are live and live in color. Let's get some toned down stuff going on because it is the evening time. We don't need it all bright and whatnot up here on Facebook as we jump in and say good evening to everybody. It is Thursday evening. There's a lot going on this week. Super excited about all the stuff that's happening. Tomorrow, I will be at a wonderful friend of mine, Joanna. Her book launches tomorrow. And then on Saturday, I get to speak at an incredible event. So that's two back-to-back. One, hey, beautiful. That's Joanna right there. That's JB. So excited about that. So two book launches back-to-back, right? This is amazing. This is one of the best things about being a creative, about being in this business, is when it happens, when the magic comes to life, right? So I have an amazing friend, Joanna. Her book launches tomorrow. So that's going to be awesome. And then I will be speaking on Saturday at the Breathe conference for my wonderful client and friend Obioma, who's going to jump on tonight, and we're going to have a good conversation talking about writing to release and what that process is all about. So we got Obioma right here. Let's make this thing happen. Technology, baby. Let's make it do what it do. Just gonna add her at some point in time. We're gonna have a good conversation about this whole. Hey, love.
Hey, how are you?
Hey. I'm wonderful. You know what I mean? I'm busy as ever doing 10,000 things, but I am absolutely wonderful. So I'm glad that you're on. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited and ready to deliver. I'm ready to deliver.
Cause
Yep.
you've been pregnant for a while.
I've been pregnant too long. I've been pregnant for like 2 years.
Yeah. Like 2 years. Oh, that's JB said congratulations. So her book launches tomorrow.
Yes, congratulations, JB.
Because she jumped, so that's a big one for her. It's her first book, and then so I said this weekend is going to be a great weekend for me. I get to celebrate two amazing ladies, so I'm very excited for both of you, and just to be able to celebrate with you both. So yay! But tonight we want to get into some specifics about you. Somebody said I need to start my book. Yeah, hurry up, get on the wave. You late. We are about to talk about this process and what the process entails, what goes into this, so many things. And I really want to start with, so you got lots of congratulations, Obioma. Oh, that's Dominique. Dominique is a bae. Dominique, hey, she's helping become amazing. So I want to, and this will be an exchange back and forth, just sharing with one another, to talk about for you, what was the process like? The whole, look at your face. What was the process like, going through the labor of bringing a book to life?
So it was a lot of contractions, right? It was a lot of contractions. It was a whole lot of pain. And you know what? I have to start off by saying, like, initially I thought this was going to be easy. I really did. I underestimated the process. I underestimated the journey. I had no idea that this was going to be the tool that God used to heal me. Here, I was writing my story to help other people, and it helped me. And that's why it took so long, because since you were there, you remember all the tears. You remember every session where I think you would ask me one question and I would either cry for a long time or go into this long story, and it's like, I think that's the difference between writing fiction versus, nonfiction, because nonfiction is real, it's really real. And I think that the conversation that you and I had, before about, when you are writing something that's going to be transformative, it has to transform you first. You know what I mean? And so this work was real. It was real. It was, and also there's nothing fabricated about any of my story. And so it was painful to tell, it was painful to write, but I'm on the other side of it now. And
Yeah.
so I would say to anybody that's watching, anybody that want to be really raw and transparent, because it was some stuff that I was like, Sheree, I don't know if I want to say that, or if I want to talk about that, or like, I don't know. And I mean, because the real of it is that I've experienced so much, because there's so many different people involved that impacted me, positive and negative. It was like, how do I stay authentic and true to my truth and my story, and not come off like I'm trying to throw somebody under the bus, or deframe somebody's character, or be negative. And so, that took a whole lot of um us kind of talking through that, and being prayerful, and just like, you know what, let me just put this down for a couple of months. Literally, let me just put this down for a couple of months, because I can't. It's just too much. It's just too
Mm-hmm.
much, and let me come back to it. And then also, I have to say this to you guys: you have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in yourself. So I am the type of person that learns very differently, I think. So I need to hear things from multiple people a whole lot of times before the light bulb goes on. And so in this process, I had Sheree the whole time with me, but I also went to another conference. I also created a book development team. I also did like all these other little things to kind of reassure me that what I was saying, people needed to hear. Like, that was important for me to be able to get the feedback from other people, so that I could feel like I'm not alone. I could feel like, I'm not going crazy, because when I felt like I was going crazy, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So all of that is important. And at the end of the day, it's a process, but you have to be willing to stay the course. You have to be willing to stick to it, and you have to be willing to make the investment. Like, I think that's the biggest thing that I've walked away with, because, and when I say investment, I mean time and money. I want to say that at this point, I've probably spent a total of about 15,000. Um,
Really?
yeah, yeah, because if you think about it, right, the initial, the initial, the package I signed up for, right? Can we be transparent? So the package that I initially signed up for with Sheree was like $5,000, right? And what I really needed was the ghostwriting package, but that was like 20,000, or it was another number. And at that time, I was like, not that I couldn't afford it, but I was just like, I don't know about that. Like, I really wanted to write my own story, but now having written my own story, then anything I do going forward, I'm going to tell her the story, and she going to write it. I'm going to tell her the story, and she going to write it. It was just too much. But how I got the 15,000 is that I kept adding services. And Sheree, and you know what, I just, you got to respect the person that's working with you. So even though, like, we developed a friendship along the way, she's still the expert. It was still her time. And when she was like, yeah, that's not what's in your package. You're going to have to pay me for this. I was just like, all right. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think people need to come to the table aware, and not be trying to nickel and dime and penny pinch, because you put a lot of work in this. You put a lot of work in this, and it, like, your time is worth it. And so, yeah, that investment. So that was a huge chunk of it. But then it's the marketing behind it. That's a whole nother listen, you
That's a whole
guys.
nother month.
That's a whole nother. I am spending about 15 between 15 Sheree, I'm spending about between 1,500 to 2,000 a month just on the marketing, and the marketing includes the PR and the tour. So this is what happens when you do it yourself versus like if you sign, if you get signed with a company and they take a royalty, you know what I mean, because they doing that heavy lifting for you. But
to an extent though,
okay,
I wouldn't say all of that because the social media age and because everyone can self-publish right now, major publishers are not doing a whole PR tour for you.
right,
Like, you would still need a person. You
right,
would still, because they got a PR team, but they're
right,
not going to put their whole PR team on every single author that
right,
comes in. You know, you're talking about
absolutely,
huge organizations. So if you they'll accept your PR plan,
right,
you know, but that's it.
yeah,
You know, and they might help facilitate some things, but they're not. It's still you.
yeah,
It's
it's
still
still
all on the
you.
muscle.
And
Mm-hmm.
so here's the thing. This is where that investment comes in, that you got to count the cost, you got to have a budget, because if you want to be seen and heard and get paid, you're going to have to really put yourself out there, and putting yourself out there costs money.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It
it
does.
costs money. And so I think that I think that people don't tell the truth as much as they need to tell the truth about this whole book
Come on,
process, because
somebody.
everybody want to talk about write a book in a day, become a bestseller, but the bestseller doesn't guarantee you profit.
A thing.
The
It doesn't
best
guarantee you
the,
a
and if
thing.
truth can be told, people getting the best selling list and not selling nothing. They getting the best selling list by telling all their friends to download their book on Amazon for $1 so they can. That's not real. That's
That's
not
exactly what's happening.
real.
That is exactly what's happening. So I had this conversation today, because I'm always researching, always trying to improve, you know, become better at what I do. So I had this conversation today in regards to the bestseller concept, right? And people are getting you. Please understand this, folks. People are gagging you
Yes.
with this promise to become an Amazon bestseller. Do you know that tonight I can take 22 pages of something that I have, position it the right way, and put it up for free and get Amazon bestseller by tomorrow morning?
Yep.
It could be 22 pages of straight lines.
Yep.
If y'all buy it, if everybody buy it, but I mean everybody, I mean 20 within a certain half-hour increment. If I get 30, 40 people just to download this book for 99 cents or for free within an hour, all I'm doing is playing with the algorithms on Amazon.
That's
now
right.
You're a bestseller, but you ain't got nothing in that book.
And you ain't got nothing in your pocket either.
Substance, nothing. That's it. Nothing. But people go so hard for this bestseller that you miss the concept of what's valuable, right? And so that, for me, when you say the process, that is the key. And I do believe that you undershot the process, right? Because I remember seeing your face, and we would be in the sessions, and we were doing Zoom sessions, and I would pull up the document on the screen. So here's the screen share. Here's what we got going on. And we are literally moving from word to single word, every word. And I would go, well, what does this sentence mean? And you have to talk it out to me. Tell me what you're trying to say here. Okay, boom. Let's fix this. Let's fix this. So there was a point where it was like, Sheree, this requires all of this?
Right.
Yes.
I was just like, this overrated. I'm getting my money together for the next project.
Yes.
I was like, no.
Does it require all of this? And it's like, somebody, and I promise you, somebody asked me, and they were writing a book. Someone else writing a book. Every word matters. And I wanted to say, it's nothing but words.
Right.
Nothing but words in the book. Yes, every word matters.
Every word matters. Every word matters. Oh my God. Yes.
And I tell my students all the time, every word matters. Every word has to fight for its life. They are not pointless and just hanging out. They're not playing a let out after the club. They're not just chilling. Right. Words are here intentionally to serve a purpose. Yes. So when people don't tell you that, when they tell you, let's just hurry up and get your book written real quick. Right. Let's hurry up and get it written real quick. And I know for me, I think that I'm such a critical and analytical person sometimes that I think that I can be intimidating. When I go to get into it, people are like, is that much? And that's kind of, I have to soften the blow sometimes. Like, unfortunately, my love, yes, it is that much. It is that much. It does require that much from you. You know, you can't skip over it. And then for you, when we would get into certain places, it's like, yeah, but you can't skip over that part of your story. You know, you how did you get from here to here? But you can't skip over that part of the story because that matters, right? These things that built you and broke you and then built you back up again are all a part of who you are right now.
Right.
That transformative work that's here, present in what you do. So,
and that was in my head. Let me tell you, you guys, for those of you that's watching, why it's so important to have a literary coach and a baby, because I was in my head. And so because I was in my head when I was writing, I was telling a story as if you was there. So so there was a whole lot of gaps. And so that's what Sheree is talking about. Like, well, how you get from A to D? And I'm like, you ain't know.
No.
Like, no, you ain't put it on the paper.
No. So the title of the book is Breathe, Empowered to Live a Stress-Free Life. That is the title of the book, and the launch is on Saturday.
Yes.
So I'm gonna make sure we drop the link for the conference. I'll be speaking at the conference. So excited about that. It's an amazing host of speakers that we'll get into all of that. Everybody that's going to be there. And what do you want to talk about that now? If you want to, we can transition and share some information about that, about the conference and about the book releasing. You got some amazing things going on, especially with the tour. And then we can get back to the process, because that ain't going nowhere.
But so here's the thing though. So about the process and the tour and the conference and all that kind of stuff, I like to think I probably do stuff like backwards, right? So before the book was written, I was already out here. I was already out here.
But that's so important though. I think that that helps your marketing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That you being able early on to be transparent. Like, you didn't, this is the one thing that I do like, even though you backed away from the project for a while, you didn't hide from the process of going through. So you were very transparent in your process, which is what built your audience. It's because you were going through that clarity. You were going through that prayer. You were doing all of those things on Facebook and building that community by going through the process and sharing that with people. So you weren't writing stuff down for me every day, but you were still going through, and that helped substantiate you and the market and everything that you need to do to help propel the book forward. So that's still a part of it.
Yeah, but it was still painful. It was really still painful. And so I have to say to you guys though, for anybody that wants to jump out here and do this book thing. So yeah, the book is done, but the process was, because I needed to have that reassurance and kind of validation from my tribe, from my community. I was hosting empowerment circles. I was out in the community, as well as being on live on Facebook, on social media, talking about the process, being transparent. And so with the conference, I did a ladies' night out December last year, and people were like, you cheated us. Like you just touched the surface. You gotta give us some time. You gotta we ain't even get a chance to really, get deep. And so I'm like, you know what? This book is covering so much, is tapping into so much. And yeah, I could absolutely talk about the book all day, but that's boring to me. Like, I was like, let me get my friends. Like, because my friends is dope. Like, I got a dope village. I didn't start out with a dope village, but I got a real sister tribe now. Like, let me put a conference together and bring my sisters together, and let's have some real transformation and breakthrough. And that's what the conference is about on Saturday. And I'm excited about it. Two of my sisters is on this live stream. We got Pastor Cynthia Allen, who tuned in. She's the praise and worship leader. We got Dr. Tawanda Saunders. Like, let me tell you, like, y'all got to get y'all tickets, because y'all don't even know this is going down on Saturday.
It is. I'm really looking forward to it. I think that it's going to be life-changing.
Oh, it's going to be life-changing.
It's going to be life-changing. It's this opportunity to just impact, and not even just empower, but transform is probably the best word I can think of. It's going to change lives, because there are, so we talk about the topic that I'm going to be speaking on Saturday. I'm talking about release, right? So because breathe is an acronym. So the R in breathe stands for release. And one of the things that you talked about, and we'll get into it, is not wanting to tell your story because you didn't want to throw people under the bus, right? Mm-hmm. So when I tell you that I hear that so often, and that is so common. People have been through things in their lives. They've been hurt. They've been abused. They've been damaged. There's something has happened to them. And they're always like, I don't know if I should, or I don't know if I want to tell people this part about myself. And there's always some hesitancy there. But there's value in releasing that thing. And the value is not always just for you. It's so, so important to understand that.
Yes.
Because I like to say, like, we have this thing that we go through, right? Our story, I like to say that our stumbling blocks can become someone else's stepping stones.
Right.
So we have this thing that we go through. It's like a blockade. And if we don't release that thing, it's clogging the pipes because it's not really for us anyway. It's for somebody else. So going through that part of being free enough to tell your story, one thing that you did say is you're not even that same person anymore. Let's start there, for one, right? That's like, oh, people are going to know that I did this or know that I did that. Well, you still doing it?
Right.
No. Well, then forget that. Like, we ain't worried about that.
Right.
You can't be mad at, like, let them be angry at that old person because she's not even here no
more.
Right.
Right.
But two, when you do get to the place where you can tell your story and openly confront the things that were really happening to you or that you had to deal with, I want you to tell us what that was like for you, because you had a place. And if I go back in the transcriptions, I pulled some notes. It was like, I don't know if I want this in the book, Sheree.
Right.
And I was like, I'm putting this in the book.
So listen, so this is important, you guys, because I've really endured a lot of abuse in my life. From those that were close to me, family, friends, and so very specifically though, I did not have the best relationship with my mom and with her husband. It was a lot of verbal and psychological abuse. It was a transition, and so that abuse is kind of what springboarded me into the marriage that I ended up in, as well as how I viewed men, how I viewed relationships and all that kind of stuff. And I never dealt with any of that stuff before, never talked about it or anything. I kind of just suppressed it. And so in writing this book, having to deal with that and really understand the root of my my decisions, right? Coming. So for me, I had a coming to Jesus moment. I had several of them because it was like, how did I get here? Right? I had to go back into my childhood to understand, how did I get here and what led me to make those decisions that I was making as an adult, right? And so when I began to dig deep and really look at what happened and all of this, the dysfunction that I grew up in my family, I could understand that because it was so familiar, even though it was unhealthy, even though it was toxic, even though it was abusive, because I was familiar with it, it was easy for me to accept it as an adult. And so it didn't look like it was dysfunctional as an adult because this is what I knew. I grew up in it. So it was like, oh, this is natural. This is what we do. And then it wasn't until later on, I was like, no, this ain't right. This ain't healthy. This ain't what normal people do, or this ain't what healthy people do anyway. Because I was able to start seeing some healthy relationships because what I experienced was nothing healthy or toxic about it. So, as I began to start doing radio interviews and TV interviews or whatever, people start feeling some type of way. My mom, her husband was like, what's up? Like, what's going on? You hate me? Like, what? And I'm like, no, I need you to, I remember the first magazine article, but it was the first magazine article, I think either last year or the year before last that came out. I remember my mom and her husband called me like, we suing whoever wrote this because this ain't true. They were hot. They was like, this is not right. I want to know who wrote this. I was like, this is true, and I wrote it because this is true. And so that was the beginning, of it, just seeing how they reacted to that. And that wasn't even like the real tea. That wasn't even the real dirt. That was just kind of like me saying how I lived in all these different places. That wasn't even the real tea. And so in the book, I give some real tea, and so now it's starting to come out. And I had to have a conversation though this weekend. I had to have a conversation this weekend with my mom and her husband. I can proudly say my stepfather, because we have an amazing relationship now, and he is not who he used to be. Praise the Lord. But I was able to have a conversation with the both of them and said, listen, you're going to be hearing stuff. Like, I'm about to go on tour, and I talk about y'all in my book. And like, I need you not to be offensive, because this is really my truth. This really happened. And we were able to have this conversation about the things that really happened to me, under their roof. And me and my stepfather had this moment. It was such a moment where he opened up and began to tell me what happened in his childhood that he never talked about, that he never even told my mom about. And they've been married 23 years, you guys. And we had this moment of breakthrough. Oh my God. Like like having that. And then he apologized to me. He was like, wow, I didn't even know that you felt that way. I apologize. Come on now. 23 years. And he was like, and it was a sincere apology. And like, if nothing else happened to get that, not that, and I wasn't even seeking that. It was just like, I needed him to be okay with understanding that I'm not throwing you under the bus, but I need to free some people, which is why I'm telling my story. And me telling my story, he began to tell his story. Like, it was, oh my God.
And that's the beauty of it. That is what letting it out does. Yeah. That's just a part of it. But that is the power in releasing, right? When you let that free, when you set your story free, you become an example for other people to be able to go after their freedom as well. So if you had never done that, if you had never decided like to go beyond your fears, beyond your reservations and hesitations and say, I'm going to put this out there, I'm going to share my story, he would have never had his come to Jesus moment. Yeah. He would have never had that moment where he had to reflect and go, you know what, this happened to me. And this is why. And you said to me, he said, I was jacked up. Yeah. He would have never even been able to acknowledge that and say that to you in this place as an adult and apologize to you. Come on. Like it only happens when you are able to be free in your own space and in your own story. So that's what comes by way of writing to release, letting that thing go, sharing that story so it can do the good work that it's destined and determined to do. That has built something between you two that's, you said you've never called him that before. Now you can, with all honesty, refer to him as your stepfather. That's a relationship that you forged now because you told your story. Yeah. Because you told your story. Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah. So you guys, you have to face your fears. You have to confront, the things that you don't want to, because it wasn't easy. Like, I really was like praying about it for a couple of days, but I knew it was so heavy on my heart. I was like, I know I got to have this conversation because I don't want him to be mad, because we do have a legit great relationship now. And so I was really concerned about how he was going to feel and how he was going to perceive the story, even though it was my truth. And that's the thing, like, I have to tell you guys, not that I was raped, but it's almost as if you raped and you don't want to tell on your rapist because you are afraid of how they're going to feel, but they still raped you. Like, they still raped you. It doesn't neglect that they raped you, regardless of how they feel. They still violated you, and that was really, really how my story was, and I needed to say to both him and my mom, like, I'm not telling my story to hurt you or put you under the bus, but this is my story. You don't have to accept it and you don't have to like it, but it is my story. These things really did happen to me. And because they understood. I felt like they understood my heart and understood where I was coming from. And we were just able to have this moment like, okay, no problem. And so my stepfather was like, but just make sure you tell people that we good now. And and I was like, absolutely, absolutely. I let people know we good now. But there was a time when I didn't speak to you for 2 years. Like like I had to, we like together, the three of us had to go all the way back 20 years ago because they surpassed it. Like it was tucked away. It was in a suitcase and it was locked. And it was like, oh, that's the past. We're never talking about that again. And I was like, yeah, let me take the lock off of that. Let's open that up.
Let's open some doors.
Yeah, yeah.
Some locks. Yeah.
Let's open that up. Let's talk about that.
That's good. Yeah. I think that's incredible. Again, I think that's just an amazing part of the process that you have to come through and come to in being able to be transparent and telling. Somebody said they have a similar story. You gotta let it out.
You got to.
You gotta let it out. And because we got to a place, just being transparent about your story, we got to a place where there was a decision that you made that I couldn't stick to it as a reader. And I was like, well, how did you get to this decision? Right? Well, what made you? And it was some gaps. Like you said, you were telling it as if I knew it. So there were some gaps in some places. And I'm like, but Obioma, how did you get from here to here? Like I'm missing some stuff. And I love you. On paper, she will freeze up on me, but in person, it just comes out. I'll be like, record, catch it, put it on the transcription, record. But it would just pour out, and I'm like, okay, that's important. That matters. That matters. That matters. And that makes a difference when you want to make a difference. Right. Because you can't say certain things and leave the people who you want to help heal hanging. They're going to ask the same questions. They're going to need to know, how did you get there? How did you figure this out? How did you navigate that space? And it's only through being transparent that you can really do that.
And having a good coach, though. I have to say, you guys, like, this was so painful, and Sheree did not allow me to leave anything unturned. Every single gap, every single hole, she was like, you got to fill it. You got to talk about that. And I would be like, well, delete.
Give to me.
I would be like, forget it. I ain't talking about it. Delete. And she would be like, if you want to tell this story, if you want to help somebody, you're going to have to talk about it. And I would say, I don't know about that. So I have to tell you guys, that's why it was so painful, though, because she kept going deep. She kept on saying, tell me more. I want to know about the day. What was the weather like? How did you feel? Like, I was like, Jeray. Like, oh my God. And so what happens, though, you guys, is that when you are going that deep, though, it really takes you back to that place, because I would literally have to go back. So let me tell you a story that's not in the book. So I was molested when I was like maybe, I don't know, between 5 or 7. And so I had initially had it in the book, and Sheree was like, you got to tell people how you got over it. So I was able to say, like, I understand some things because of what happened to me, and I was able to get over it because, like, my uncles beat him up and blood was all over the place. And so, like, I tell the story, but I don't tell the story the way Sheree wanted me to tell the story. And I couldn't, like, I would go back to who I was at 6 or 7 whenever, it happened, and I could actually feel him. I could experience him. Like, I was right there, the room, the everything, right? And that was painful. But then I couldn't transition. I couldn't, because so much happened. I was like, I don't know. It was so pressed down and hit, and I was like, I can't even, Like, I can't talk about it. I can't even talk about it no more. So that was something that we had to delete, because like it happened and it absolutely impacted my life, but I wasn't able to really talk about it. So we had to
because
take
you
that
couldn't.
out.
We did, and only because so people understand, and it had to move only because in every other place we could get to how you push through.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the only place where it was, and I pray, that you continue to move through, to move through that thing. But it was the only place that there was still a block.
Yeah.
That there was still like, so how can we walk somebody else through the healing?
Right.
And we couldn't.
Right.
We couldn't get through that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's not, because you can't leave it hanging.
Right.
You can't leave it hanging in that space. So, and for you have layers upon layers upon layers. So this is just the tip of the iceberg for what you're going to do. And, you've already done so much and helped so many women doing amazing things with all of the organizations and foundations and things that you've done. And you're just an incredible woman. So for me, it's like, this is just the beginning of what you're going to do. With, especially in the literary world, it's just at the cusp. So we have a lot more.
I'm not writing my story no more. So listen, you guys, like, if you want to do the work, just understand that it is real work, especially if it's going to be transformative, if it's going to change people's lives, if it's going to make them face those lies, if it's going to make them, deal with the pain, with the hurt, with the betrayal, with the bitterness. Like, I went deep. Like, it was a whole lot of stuff that I just never talked about, that I suppressed. Mm-hmm. And so in this process of writing this book, I had to visit all those places. And it was like me going through a time machine, literally, like, through my past, through all those relationships, all those experiences, all those different houses, all those different people. And so if you're not willing to do the work, right, just get a ghostwriter. Tell the story. And
even if you do, I think even if you do get a ghostwriter, you still got to be transparent. You still have to be able to give up the story. You got to give up the ghost. You still have to be able to tell.
I know, but verbally saying it and writing it is two different things.
They are two very different things. And I will say, I believe that for me, God blesses you with what you need, right? With the gifts and things that you need. And I remember being much younger and even now, I'm probably not the most emotional person in the world. People who know me, close friends, know I'm an emotional wreck at times, but for the most part, I'm a type A personality. I'm very much like, this is it. Like, this is what we got to do. And I remember getting into a fight with one of my girlfriends, and she was crying. I was like, what are you crying for? Why are you doing all this emotional stuff, right? And I've always been that kind of person. But I think that helps me, because when you're going through it, I can understand where you are, but there's something in me that doesn't go into the emotion as well. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because my job is to just keep listening.
Right.
My job is to hear everything that you're saying. So if I get caught up in the emotion, I'm like, Obioma. Oh, right. Girl, I don't know how we're going to get through this. Oh, my God, here goes some tissue, and I'm on the floor crying with you. Then we just spent an hour crying, and we haven't got anything done.
Yes.
So I would be like, it's okay. You need some tissue?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Not a problem. So I think it's so important.
You was just like that. Straight face and everything, but that's needed. That's why you're gifted to do this, because I was a whole mess. I'm so glad. Thank you, Jesus, that I'm on the other side of it. But I'm telling you guys, I couldn't say nothing without crying. I couldn't get through a story without crying. I was a mess.
Pack tissues in my bag. Like, I'm gonna just pack this little pack of tissues because we got a session today, prepare myself, and be ready, because I'm going to pull. Yeah. And it happens. And I think it's a part of that intimate coaching part where for me, because it's a different kind of coaching, right? I'm not a business coach. You know what I mean? We're dealing with not just the literary aspect of it, but you're dealing with people's lives.
Right.
You know, we're dealing with so much, and you have to get that out so that it can be, like I said, you got to share the good stuff with the world. So in that space, it is imperative that I don't get caught up in it, but I have to stay locked into what the purpose is. And I remember when we were at the down temple, it was like, let's keep going back to this outline. Let's keep going back to this purpose. Let's keep going back to this. Keep the purpose in mind, because that, for me, as the coach, as the literary coach, as the editor, that's my responsibility. You know what I mean? And to make sure that you move through it and we get out what's good for the people who need to hear it. So I think that, and when I think about that and just how often that happens in some of my sessions, it's become very common. So it's like, God, you gifted me for this.
Right.
You had to have gifted me for this, because people will be like, woo, like all on the floor. And I'm like, it's okay.
Right. Right.
Take a 5-minute breather, but we still got to get through chapter 1. So
yes. Yes. So listen, people, be ready if you're going to work with, and here's the thing. I cannot say that every literary coach, you know, is going to be like that, because I've talked to a whole lot of people that have written books, Sheree, and they have not shared the process that you and I have had. They didn't share nothing like that. They didn't say nothing like that. And I don't know if it was that maybe they wrote something different. All of them wrote self-help books. You know, it was all nonfiction, but nobody said they was crying and putting down the book like I was. So, and they didn't say that their editor or that their publisher was pulling, you know, those nuggets and those gems out of them. So I have to say, I so appreciate you for doing that. It was painful, but it was worth every second, and it was necessary for the journey. It was necessary for me. It was a part of my healing. It was a part of my growth. It was part of my personal and spiritual development. And let me kind of just pause though. Let me pause though, because who you have coaching you matters, because the content. So in Breathe, I'm not just telling you my story, but I'm also giving you a spiritual lens. I'm also giving you scriptures. I'm also giving you the word. And so because Sheree is also a believer, you guys, and then the literary bae that she assigned to me was a believer too. When it got to those places where I was trying to connect the word of God and scripture, they was like, this don't fit. Like, you got to go back to the word, go back and pray, go back, see what God trying to like, that's so important. I'm so grateful that you are a believer and you were able to really see the connections and be in prayer with me. Cause I was like, a couple of times, like, we just gonna have to pray about this. Like, God, I have to say, I so appreciate having you being able to be my spiritual midwife in this, and being able to, we was able to pray each other through a whole lot of stuff in this process. And I was like, God, you gonna have to do it. So that matters too. That matters too. Yeah,
it does. I absolutely. And I just thank God for the position, you know, for the positioning and for the opportunity to be able to work with you through it. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, being able to use all of me completely. You know, all of who I am. Yeah. And, you know, I would talk to you about my anger. I'm like, I'm about to lose it. Pray for me, Obioma. My temper a little bad. Pray for me. Yeah. But it's that relationship, and that's important. You know, when you're working with an editor, when you're working with any coach, but especially when you're working with an editor, you got to have somebody who understands your story, who understands what you're trying to do, who understands your genre, who knows how to help get that part of the message out there. And when you talk about other writers who have done this process, I think for me, the painful part, and I can't ever just not be passionate about it, because I love to write. I love the creative element. So as much as I go, oh, whatever, it still kills me, because what they produce, when somebody's not pulling, right? There's not someone who knows composition or knows what it is to write. they let people put out work that is just very surface level. You know, it's regurgitated concepts.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's something that somebody else taught in Think and Grow Rich, and they just took it and put it this way.
Right.
It's something that they learned by watching Les Brown, and they put it in their own words. It has no depth. It has no merit. And someone who doesn't know how to see that in language can't teach you that. They can't teach you that, because you'll say, and I learned how to love myself.
Right.
And people will go, okay, that's great. And then that's your chapter. And I'm gonna be like, what does that look like?
I know. Oh my God, you guys. So Sheree kept doing that to me. Every time I thought I was being all sexy with my language, being all eloquent, and I would say something all fly, and she would be like, explain that. And I would be like, what?
Well, what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? I'm
what
like,
does that mean?
in my mind, I'm like, you know what I mean? She was like, yeah, I do, but they don't.
And I would know, because I have a master's degree in composition.
Right.
So I know what you're trying to say.
Right.
Like, okay, that makes, I see where she's trying to make some connections.
Yeah, yeah.
But if people are not reading at that depth,
right,
just because that's, you know, the nerd that I am.
Right.
You got to get them. You got to get them. And you have to, and I say this all the time, that writing is like a tightrope. You have to lead them every step of the way. And the moment that they fall off,
Jesus,
it's over.
Yes.
The moment that somebody is confused by what you're talking about, or it doesn't make any sense, and they fall off the tightrope, they're not getting back on. They don't climb on in the middle. It's over. So it's so imperative that you are transparent, and you let that process happen. So I am thankful that we were able to do this, you know, go through this together, because I don't know how else we got it done. And it took you a couple different ways to see it. You know what I mean? I do
took
see
a lot of ways for me.
I learned this way, and I learned it this way. And I'm like, okay, great, but let me see it on the paper.
Right.
Like, that's great. You congratulations. I like that you learned it this way. Stop adding stuff. Let me see it on the paper. That sounds beautiful. I'm glad they said this. Congratulations.
Yep.
Let me see it on the paper, though.
Yep. And listen, you guys, every time. So here's what's funny about this too, because the whole time, Sheree didn't even know I was in school. So I'm also in school to get my certification in biblical counseling. So at the end of the semester, I would learn all of this new, wonderful stuff, and I would want to add it in the chapter. And she'd be like, no, that's maybe for your next book. You're doing too much.
Yeah, hello. So that's a point right there. That is a huge point, folks. Let me tell you something. You know you can write more than one book, right? Like, you know that you can write more than one book, period. Like, it's possible. You do not have to cram everything you know and every experience you have ever had into one book. First of all, it's impossible. That is impossible. You would never finish writing. And if you don't stick to the outline,
oh my God,
stick to the purpose, you're going to be absolutely lost.
You got to stick to the outline. You got to stick to the outline. And she provided the outline for me, and I kept detouring, and she kept like a GPS. Turn around, make a U-turn, like a GPS. You're going the wrong way.
That's not on the outline. How did you go?
And I would be like,
oh, I thought I was going to add. Wait a second. How you get to this sub-story? I just wanted to add notes.
Right.
The outline. And I'm going to tell you, and you got to be my date. Somebody has to go be my date. Michael Eric Dyson is coming to Philly soon.
Okay.
He's going to be at Uncle Bobby's, but he actually was working as a friend of one of my clients in Dallas, and they were having this conversation. And I've been saying the same thing to him. Stick to the outline. And he said, Sheree, I was having a conversation with Michael Eric Dyson the other day. I said, oh, really? What were y'all talking about?
Right.
So the same thing. How do you get these books finished? You've written all these books. How do you get them finished? He said, I put an outline together and I stick to the outline. Everything else, I save it for another book. I said, yes, sir. Thank you. And I, as a nerd, as a researcher, I would like to spend some more time with these brilliant people that people love and admire so much, these writers, people who drop in these books all the time, and ask them more about the process. Because the industry is so full right now with people who are trying to get you to skip the process, so that you can swipe your credit card and pay them to get that Amazon bestseller, that people are missing that there's a process. And 99.9% of books that have ever been published have had an editor.
Right.
Like you can't do it alone. You cannot do it alone. You got to have somebody working with you to get it done. So I like to be able to position myself as a literary coach, as a spiritual midwife, as your editor, like all of these things, this multifaceted person that I can be, you know, to serve you the best that I can, because there's so much quality. You know, I win twice. I tell people this all the time. I win twice. I get to help you help other people. That's a double win for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's twofold.
It's twofold. Yeah. So I know we've been talking, you guys, but
we have. What time we got? Oh,
it was
need an editor. They said need an editor. So I guess we can, before we that was most of what we wanted to get into, some specific stuff, especially about releasing and talking about the conference. But I do want to, at this moment, open the floor for if anyone had any questions, things that you want to know about for myself or for Obioma, about the process, about anything. You know, now's the time. If not, make sure you meet us at this conference on Saturday.
Yeah.
But we're gonna open the door because people need to know, and I will always continue to. And JB Joanna had to pick me up off the floor the other day. I was having a fit. Like, everybody's just and they're all doing it this way, and everybody's doing it this way. And she was like, yeah, but they don't bring what you bring.
Right.
You know, and that for me is for me, but that also is for you guys as well, because your story may sound like somebody else and they had a similar experience, but it's still you that have to tell it. It's what you've been through and the way that you say it that could change somebody's life. Mm-hmm. So it is so important, because everybody has different skill sets, and some people have the same skill sets, but it's you. It's the person that you are, that 100%, that whole full entity that makes the difference. So it is so important that you tap into that and share that with other people, because that's what's going to change lives. People go, oh, well, I've heard it's been all done before. Not in your voice.
Right.
Not with your character. Not
right.
with your, animation. Not with your, zest. It's never been done that way before. Okay, Sean's never been done Shantae's way before. It's never been Joanna's way before. So you have to do that. It's so, so important. So.
Yeah. So you guys got any questions? You guys got any questions?
Any questions?
I know we gave you a lot.
Good night. I always enjoy this. I do.
Yeah, no, this is, you know what why I thought this was important and necessary, because there is so much marketing around, let me help you get your book done. Write your book in a week, write your book in a day. And so I'm like, and I was saying to Cynthia, I think 2 weeks ago, we was having a conversation, like, if you're going to write a fiction book where it's not going to cost you anything, yeah, you probably can put that together in a week, because it's not going to cost you anything. But when you writing a story about your life, and it's about transformation, and you are going to help somebody else get through something, like, that's not a weak process. I don't care who you sit with, I don't care who you talk to, I don't care how much you pay them. That is not a weak process. It's not. It's so,
and it's real work. So one thing, fiction is gonna cost you something too. Fiction is gonna cost you your hair, because it's a lot. You be pulling your hair out, having to learn all kinds of stuff with fiction. It's a whole lot more stuff that goes into fiction. So you got to be good at that. But that's a different monster, and my babes love to do that too. So let us know if you need that help. But yes, it is important, like that, knowing. So somebody said this to me the other day, that shortchanging the process is a marketing strategy now. Like, that's the win. And I'm a nerd. I do my research. So even today, I was looking up some stuff, and I saw this other she doesn't call herself a literary coach, but I don't know what she terms herself as. But I'm looking up her stuff, and I was looking to see the people that she helped, and I said, well, let me look up this person's book on Amazon. I look up the book on Amazon. The cover's terrible. It's 44 pages. And she's got a big bestseller ribbon on it. And the first sentence is grammatically incorrect. First sentence. And I'm like, well, okay. First sentence is messed up. In the middle of the paragraph, she jumps into another topic. I was like, well, okay, so I'm put it down. I'm not even interested in reading this, but she got that big bow on there. She got the big bestseller on there. And this person is selling this program for $3,000 to teach you.
And so here's the thing, though, and this is really important. And JB, I see your question. I'm gonna answer it, but we have to be really, really careful of the people that's out here who lack integrity, because they are dressed in sheep clothing and they are all 100% wolves underneath. And so there's a scam to lure you in, you know, like the apple in the garden. Surely you won't die, right? Surely you're going to make $1 million. But they don't tell you that, no, you're not. No, you're not going to make $1 million. And when people find out that you are phony and you are fake, they're not going to support you. They're not going to follow you, and you will not get another dollar from them. And that little bit of fame is going to fade away as fast as it came.
Yeah. And I think people are more and more getting to understand, and I will continue to do the work to get people to understand that Amazon bestseller ranking at this day and age, it has no weight. It has no weight. And I'm going to get this information for you. My assistant was digging it up today. There's a gentleman who did an entire study. I think it was called like the Foot Project or something. He literally took pictures of his feet and had certain people purchase this thing at the right time, and it became an Amazon bestseller. So pictures of his feet. That's how pointless it is. He was doing a social experiment. He said, if I can get a certain amount of people to buy it at this one time, then I'll become an Amazon bestseller with pictures of his feet. And that's what you're shooting for. So I ask people all the time, is that your goal? Right. What do you want? You want that ribbon, or you want to make an impact? You want to make a difference. Right. You want to change lives. You want to have people actually transform. That's what makes a difference. And that takes work.
Yeah, that
even when you went to the Lisa Nichols conference, and I like her. And I like that she was so transparent about the process that she went through. I didn't write, like, she wasn't no great writer. Tell you, I had people helping me do this. It became a bestseller, Abundance Now, because there was a team of people coordinating this.
But here's the thing. Abundance Now is Abundance Now 20 years later. It wasn't Abundance Now when she started in the game 20 years ago. You know, and people got to understand that too, because we get so caught up in who we see now, and we neglect or negate the story, the price that they paid. Because if you listen to her, and anybody that's really out here doing it and got a real platform, because she got a multi-billion, not million, a multi-billion-dollar platform, publicly traded company, but she is quick to tell you how it cost her everything. It cost her everything. Finances, time, family, friends, everything. And she couldn't write, but she had a story. Okay? So I want to say that that's important. And JB had a question about the spiritual.
Before you get into JB's question, I'm going to say that to finish that the talk about what it cost you, right? You're at this place right now where you're realizing like that marketing component is huge, right? Being able to get that out.
Listen,
it's huge.
The marketing is huge. Again, do not be deceived. Don't be deceived. Don't be deceived. Don't think that it's just going to happen. It is real work. And if you have a full-time job, you need to have a full-time job to pay for it. It's going to cost you. No, seriously, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you. It's going to cost you. So here's the thing about the marketing. So let me just take a minute and talk about that for a second. So here's the thing about the marketing. The marketing is a beast. It's not just one element. It's a whole pie. The marketing is a whole pie because you have the PR, you have the marketing, you have the social media, you have a marketing. So I have a marketing plan. My marketing plan is like 25 pages. Like I have a marketing plan that went, so Sheree gave me a marketing plan that was 6 months, and then I went and took what she gave me and added a whole lot of meat to it. And let me tell you, to do all the stuff in that marketing plan, it costs money and time and research. And when you don't have the time to do it, you then have to pay somebody else to do it. Because if you're not good with making your own graphics, you have to find a really, really good graphic designer so that your stuff can pop and so that you have stuff that is actually quality, so that you have quality print going up on social media. Like that's really important. And also when you print stuff, whether it's flyers or postcards or banners, it has to be the right quality. Then you have to manage the process. You got to make sure that everybody on your team is talking. So like for me, I have a graphic designer. I have a PR person. I have a marketing person. I got Sheree and her team, and I got a whole separate marketing team, marketing firm specifically. Like, let me get the name right. So I got like 7 people total that I'm working with, and everybody is playing their part in addition to me playing my own part. And I got a person that all she does is my social media, right? It's no way I can do all of that stuff because I don't have the time, nor do I want to do it. Like, if I can be honest, I don't want to do it. Writing a book was hard enough. I don't want to do the marketing, right? But in order for me to get, so let me tell y'all, I got a goal. I want to sell 500 books a day, right? So I sent Sheree an email like, just tell me, just tell me what it's going to cost for you to assign somebody to me, because I need an engine. Like, I just need this to all start running, because what I'm going to do, what people don't always tell you about, I'm going to monetize the mess out of my story. Yes. I'm going to monitor, but again, it's going to cost money because I have a 10-year plan. Hear me. I got a 10-year plan. This ain't an overnight plan. I got a 10-year plan. I have the resources and the people in place, and I'm like, okay, how can I plan for this? This is the end goal. I want to be able to sell 500 books a day. How do I get there? What do I need to start doing today so that 10 years from now, everything is on autopilot and I'm getting passive income and I'm chilling? Right? People don't talk about that.
No, they don't, because they're under this assumption that if you get that Amazon bestseller sticker, the floodgates gonna open and everybody's gonna be beating your door down to ask to interview you. It doesn't work like that.
No, it don't work like that.
Everyday work, all the time, every day. You gotta live it. You gotta live it. And when I go through the intensive, I'm teaching people that part about branding. It's again another shock, and it's like, it take all that. Yes. Yep. Did you think you was going to write a book and then just jump out like, hey, buy my book?
Right.
And you was going to be a millionaire? No.
Yeah.
No. And you have to become an expert on yourself, on how people think. You have to be knowledgeable. You have to be, especially if you're going to be in leadership, leading the wave. You got to be steadfast. You got to be prayed up. You got to be fulfilled. Like, you have to be a lot if you want to live this thing that you want to live. And people see it. And it's like, oh, I want to do that. I want to be a speaker.
Right.
Wait. Listen, even in preparing for Saturday, I was like, am I ready for this? Am I ready for this? Jesus, I gotta help me. What am I supposed to say? Hold on. I really got to be up here speaking to people. Okay, all right. And I teach, and I teach. But I said, this is a little different. I got to do something a little, okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I'm reading like 3 different devotionals. I'm studying, trying to get myself prepared for this, because then you become a vessel for other people. And, and that's not easy work. That's not easy work. And again, it's another part of what happens when people are comparing their chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 10. You're looking at it.
Right.
Like, oh, I'm going to get there. But you haven't even done the groundwork to get there. And you think it's just going to come easy. And it's not, my love. That overnight success, it took 5-10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
But on to JB's question. We can roll it back.
So, well, I know her question. She said, can you talk about that spiritual birthing process and what did that feel like? What was that like, right?
Yeah.
And so here's what that was. Excuse me, you guys.
Yeah. I see a little hand.
Mommy.
You got a little hand.
Mine's coming growly and Josh won't make me anything.
Okay, I'm sorry, I gotta be a mommy for a second. Joshua, you see I'm on this live stream. Make your brother something to eat.
Give him a snack. I said, just go and get a snack.
Like, come on, y'all, help a sister out. You see, get him, make him something to eat. All right. Okay. Anyway, no, he's not. So here's the spiritual the birthing process, right? I was tried. I was tried on every level, on every aspect, every single scripture that's in the book. Like, I had to live it. I had to walk that thing out. It was hard. I was tried. I gotta say, like, Sheree is just the bomb.com, because I was able to be transparent with Sheree when I was struggling spiritually. When my flesh, oh Jesus, when I was like, Sheree, you got to pray for a sister because I'm weak, right? like in all transparency, there was a whole lot of weekdays. There was a whole lot of weekdays, and you know, so yeah, it was important. It was really important because here's the thing: that word that you give out, it's for you first. Believe that. So when you hear pastors be like, "Oh, that word was for me," like I got try, like that's real. So there is nothing that I have ever given out where it was spiritual content or spiritual based that I didn't have to first live, that I didn't have to first experience, that I wasn't first disciplined on and corrected on. Even when I do my live streams, a lot of time I'd be like, oh, this was for me. Like, oh, okay, all right. You know, so that's what that spiritual birthing is like. And I think that if you are wise and if you are smart, you will just go ahead and submit to it, because when you fight against it, it just makes your life really more harder, and you just keep going around in circles because you're not going to elevate. Talk about that in my book. You're not going to elevate to the next level if you don't pass the first stage, right? You can't listen. I can't expect you to multiply if you don't know how to add, and so you're going to keep doing those simple addition problems until you get it, until there's a foundation there, and then I can show you how to multiply. But I can't just be like, oh, multiply and divide, and you don't even know how to add and subtract. So that's on the spiritual level. Yeah, you drinking milk. You ain't eating no meat. You drinking a whole lot of milk, and that's what this process was. And two, I remember specifically when I would make reference to God in the book, and when I would make reference to my relationship in the book, Sheree, oh my God, what I appreciate, Sheree listen, she was so sharp. Like God just really used her because she was able to have discernment. She was able to say, wait a minute, was that really God? I hear what you're saying, but was that really God? Because you wasn't really spiritually developed enough to say that was God. Like you were still struggling. And so
I remember that
appreciate that, right? I appreciate that. And that's why it's so important to have the right person working with you, because there is a level of discernment, because you can be deceived. You could be telling yourself a lie, believing a lie, and thinking you right.
Yeah, I remember that spot. That was they'll read about it, but that was a spot in the book, and it was almost as if God changed his mind.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah, you was like, God don't change his mind. Like, no, I think you ain't really know God the way you thought you did. I was like, you know what? You're right.
I might be right. I was like, oh, let me ask you some more questions.
Right.
And that's when we got to some back stuff, and I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
That makes sense, but that was all you.
Yeah.
That was all you, and we had to come out of that and be transparent about that. Yeah. Share that decision, because you might think that you hear God, but that's only because you don't really know God.
That's right.
Because you haven't spent that time in that relationship. You don't hear his voice.
Yeah.
You think you, but that's you. That's you.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and be with that man. You know he married. That ain't God.
Right. That ain't God.
That ain't God.
God ain't tell you that somebody else's husband was yours.
That's foolishness. Like you don't know him. You don't know him. That's what it is. You don't know him. So I think I remember that. And that again, like you said, it's when you teach, you learn twice. Yeah. So for me, as I'm going through these things, and I'm staying connected, going to church, I'm staying prayed up, and these conversations are happening between me and you. It's nothing for me but confirmation of the word. For me, it's nothing but like, that's even more, for me, that's for me too. You know what I mean? Like, Sheree, are you hearing his voice? Right. Are you staying in tune? Do you have integrity? Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's me even making sure that I stay sharp and I stay intuitive and paying attention to what's supposed to happen in this place. Because for me, it's like he's talking and I need to pay attention. Right. There's something happening. It's like, all right, let me make sure that I spend that time. So it's even, and I love you so much, because even in working with you, Obioma is on time. So every morning, before the prayer challenge started for the conference, even before that, it would be like 5:45. My phone be going off. That's Obioma. I said Obioma, and it'd be a whole word, right? And sometimes I'll be honest, there will be some days I'll be like, let me just get these kids up. Let me just go ahead and do what I got to do. I ain't got no time. But it will always be that moment where I actually grabbed my phone and was like one eye, and I was like, you know what? Thank you, God. And I needed it at that moment. I needed that specific prayer at that moment. I was like, I gotta pay attention. Let me do what I need to do. Let me shut off all the lights. Let me get my time in so I can stay connected. Because how she know I needed that?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That only comes from being connected. So I think that's an important part of it too, is being connected to the right people.
Yeah.
That support you in the birthing process, that can point you in the right direction, that can keep you from falling to the wayside. And when you see yourself, they don't run from it, or they're not pointing the finger like, well, how could you do that?
Right.
And that don't make no sense. And that was foolish of you. Why would you? No, you got to have people who are going to help you give birth in love. You're going through some painful stuff. So though I may not have been all on the floor boo-hooing and crying, I definitely was still loving.
Yeah.
Still trying to be encouraging through the process, because it's painful. Giving birth is painful. And everyone is different. Every baby is different. Every process is different. So how I love you is not the same way I love
you. Ain't loving nobody like you love me, because you already said that. I gotta tell you. I don't even know. Sheree was just like, I love you, but I cannot do this with nobody else. This was too much.
It was intense. It was intense, but it was so good. And look at the finished product. That's the best part. It was so good for both of us. And then look at the finished product. Yeah. So I'm elated. I'm so excited for what's going to come. I'm so excited for everything, for the conference, for you about to be all over the place touring. I'm glad.
Yeah. So
I'm glad it's over.
I'm glad it's over too. So it's over, but it's just beginning. So let me say that to you guys. I want to say the hard part is over. The work that Sheree and I are going to continue to do is now raise this child that we've birthed. You see my son? he want to be in the mix so bad.
Oh, you ain't see me catch Lyric with a stiff arm like this. I didn't see this one. She came from the left. I hit her with a stiff arm.
Thank you, Janice. So the baby is out, but now we got to raise the baby, because Breathe is a movement. So let me just real quick tell you guys what I've done with my story, though, because that's important. And so this is a free nugget. I'm getting ready to bless y'all for real. So with my message, what I did was, so there are empowerment circles that I do under my nonprofit. That's for free. I have the conference, and I've been able to leverage my message, my for-profit and my nonprofit to do the things that I need to do to reach the masses. There's a Breathe cruise now that's happening. There's going to be a Breathe caregivers retreat that's going to happen. Now I'm on tour, and I'm doing a 12-city book tour. Again, you guys, this is what people don't tell you about. I'm funding that tour. I ain't sold one book yet, okay? So that tour, every plane ticket, that's coming out of my pocket. But the beauty of it is that when these books start selling and they start taking off, all them checks gonna be in my pocket. I ain't got to split it with nobody. I also, because Sheree is just who she is, empowered me to make sure I had my own rights. So I am published under my own publishing company, OmazingYou.com. So that's important for you guys to know as well. So yeah, I'm when I say investment, like I'm 15,000 out, I'm 15,000 out and still counting, because I still got to pay for those plane tickets. I still got to pay for the space. I still have to pay for the hotels. Like it's a lot, but on the other end of it, like, it's going to be all worth it. So make sure when you're doing your budget that you include that. If you're going to go on tour, where you going on tour, who's going to be your tribe and your ambassadors and all that kind of stuff. That's really important. And so the last thing too is that in January 1st, 2019, I will be unveiling the Breathe House. So this book has also birthed the Breathe House. And so the Breathe House will be a transitional and a resource home. It's going to be a safe haven for battered women, with children and teen parents. And so it is my desire that this house would be a blessing, so that when they are in a situation, like I found myself in many a times where I felt unsafe and I didn't have no place to go with my children, nor did I have the money to get a hotel room. And I had too many kids to be able to stay at somebody's house. And I just really needed a place of solitude. I needed a place of peace. And so the Breathe House is going to provide women rent free, no charge, a place of solitude, a place of safety, so that they can figure out what their next steps are and don't have to worry about nobody judging them, or, you know, how I'm going to get to work, how I'm going to take care of my babies, and I'm over my head in debt. You know what I mean? So Breathe is a real movement. It's not just a book. It's not just me monetizing my story. And so when I started out with this, I told Sheree that every dollar from this book I'm using to put back into the women, because I needed to be my own rescue. But now that I'm rescued, I now can go back into my community and rescue the people that don't have the strength to be their own rescue. So
can I say that part makes me emotional. That's the part that makes me emotional, because that was your very first why. That was the very first why. That was the very first conversation. Sheree, I want everything I make to go into this house. I want to have this place. I want to have this center for women. That was the very first conversation that we had. That's incredible. I'm so proud of you. I'm so godly proud of you. That's amazing. But that's it, you know, just to be able to do that. That's exactly that's what it was purposed for. That's why. That was your why. You know what I mean? That was your why from the very beginning.
Yep.
That's incredible. So I love that. And I love that you have kept your eyes on that. Like, it's not, you didn't waver and fall apart and shift. And no, that's still the goal. And though some things may have come and tried to deter you or knock you off the path, that's still the goal. So support, you know, I got your back 1,010%, whatever I need to do, you know, to make sure that I can do what I need to do. You know, we got you. You know, we got you. My team, we definitely have a conversation about all the good stuff that we can do and create stuff for you in this workbook and prayer devotional and all kinds of stuff. This is, like I said, it's just the beginning. It is just the tip of the iceberg. So it's going to keep growing. And even thinking about just more income streams and when you say monetizing your story, it's about monetizing the message, you know, multi-purposing it. You're so good at putting conferences and things together. I love that about you. But there's and I'm good at products and content. So I'm going to help that part too. So you'll have more products to create, more workbooks, more journals, more things, you know, that are going to help people, period, you know, in all aspects of their lives. So I love that. And again, it's still just a piece of what you do. This is the Breathe component. There's still so much more, you know. So I love it, guys. And I love Obioma. I love you guys. I appreciate y'all for hanging out with us.
Thank you.
Evening.
Yes.
We're going to say goodnight. It's getting kind of late. But I'm excited about so much. I don't have a clue what I'm going to wear on Saturday, but I'm fine.
You wearing black bottoms because I got a t-shirt for you.
Oh, okay.
That's right. That's right. We got Breathe t-shirts. So you guys need to just come to the conference.
Is it a baby tee? Is it cute?
Oh, it's cute. It's cute. It's a white tee, Breathe on it. It's nice. So you can wear black pants, black skirt, whatever you want, but
works for me.
Yep. So listen, you guys.
That made my life easy. Thank you, God. That just meant now I gotta find you something to wear the JB's thing tomorrow. I'm good. Thank you, God.
Listen, you guys can go to www.obiamaevents.eventbrite.com to get your ticket. And listen, if you guys are listening and you are nowhere near Philly, be a sponsor, because your sponsorship will afford someone less fortunate that's actually in a better situation to be able to come. So what people don't know is that I've actually reached out to some social service agencies, some shelters, some places where those women are, so that they can come. And so I'm scholarshiping them right now. And so your donation would be greatly appreciated. because that helps me do the work. And so you may not know me, but I've been doing this work for many years, and I really don't pocket anything because that was
Count
never
me a
my heart
ticket.
intent.
I got a ticket for somebody.
Okay. So yeah, so you guys, you can go on to obiomaevents.eventbrite.com and get a ticket and be a blessing to somebody, because it's all about breakthrough and transformation on Saturday.
Yeah, let me
Yeah.
know. Yeah, all right. I didn't know you were doing that. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Let me know what you need me to do, because I'll
Okay.
definitely do some sponsorship.
Okay. Awesome. All right, you
Excellent.
guys. Well, I love
All
you.
right,
Thank you
gang.
for rocking with us.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Have a good evening. Kiss your kids. Be safe. Obioma, you know you better call me first thing tomorrow as soon as you get what we'll be waiting on. We need a baby.
I know.
All right. All right, guys. Good night. Good night.